Hello everyone, welcome to another GRIMGAR video. In one of my previous videos, I talked about Barbara, and I went a little bit more in depth into her character. I noticed a lot of you really like those kind of videos, so I thought I'd pick other characters in the GRIMGAR universe to go into, and my previous Renji videos doing pretty well. I thought I would make a video talking about Renji and going more in depth in his character, talking about where he started and where he ended up ultimately in the story, currently in volume 19. And I will also just be throwing in fun facts throughout the video. Also keep in mind that I'm going to be talking about these events in chronological order, not in terms of what book came out first. And if there's any other GRIMGAR characters you want me to go more in depth in, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, all that YouTuber stuff that we always talk about. So to start off, let's already get confusing. Renji is silver-haired, which is unanimously a thing we all agree on, correct? Yes? Okay, good. He has black eyes, except when he doesn't, like in the official artwork in the light novel. They have given him, in the artwork at least, orange eyes, purple-ish eyes, and also, in more recent artworks, reddish eyes? Yeah. He sports white and black armor with some red trimming on it. It has edgy spikes on it, and it also has some fur. Oh, I should also mention that in the anime, his armor is significantly more fancy and more plated looking. Like most things in the anime, everything's pretty much just upgraded versions of what they look like in the light novel. Renji's voice is described as husky. In his first appearance in GRIMGAR, Haru described his clothes as looking like a gangster, and his personality is either aloof and calm or just overly aggressive for no damn reason. Renji is not the best leader in the story, but the story kind of treats him like he is. It's weird. It's a whole thing. If you want to know more about the problems with Renji, check out this video. I went into a lot of detail about his failings as a person. But after Renji's introduced, he immediately gets into a fight with Ron. The moment he gets a chance to, he assembles his team based off of what he likes to describe as instinct and just people's appearance, kinda. Then him and his newly acquired party just kind of fuck off for a couple of, days. Renji, when he's out with, I was gonna say his friends, but not really friends. When Renji is out with his party, he initially starts killing goblins really quickly, and he actually doesn't enjoy fighting them because it feels like he's bullying weaker creatures. So he immediately pushed his party to go fight orcs. And then he complains about his party not being strong enough to fight orcs, and he starts to wonder if he actually picked the right party for fighting monsters. He says this to Minato in one of the bonus volumes, and in terms of timeline, this is basically a couple of weeks after they just arrived in GRIMGAR, so he's forcing his party of newly formed volunteer soldiers to fight orcs who've most likely trained their entire lives. And he's complaining about them not being able to keep up with him. All this is basically off screen, however, and is just exposited to Minato in the bonus volume. But you don't really get to see Renji again in the story until after Manato's death, where he basically walks up to Haru, gives him some gold because he pities them, and Haru rejects the gold. For people not really fully understanding this scene, Renji is straight up just looking down on Haru's party, and he thinks very little of his party. Renji has another appearance in Volume 2, where Renji saves Haru from orcs attacking the city. He chops the head clean off of the orc attacking Haru, and then gets into a fight with the leader of the orcs, and he tells his party members to not get involved. Orcs see him beat their leader and they fuck off. Renji does not have another appearance until Volume 3, in which we really get to see how weird of a person Renji kind of is. Throughout this entire volume, Renji's just slaughtering orcs and putting his party into really bad situations. Again, check this video to figure out more of that. But you really get an idea of how bad of a leader Renji is, and this is probably a good time to mention what Renji essentially is in the story, and he's supposed to be a foil for Haru. He's basically the exact opposite of everything that Haru essentially is. Where Haru is weak, Renji is strong. Where Haru is very caring and can pick up on the feelings of his party members, Renji doesn't get any of that shit. Where Haru's party works together to succeed, Renji carries his party through everything. And nothing shows this better than Volume 3, because he specifically thinks his party is too weak to actually keep up with him in a fight against the strongest orc in the tower, so Haru and his friends have to get him out of a problem that he put himself in. We see Renji in Volume 4 when he tries to steal Ranta from Haru's party, and is only there to talk crap about Haru's leadership and marry as a healer, even though they are solely responsible for keeping him alive.
That is a cunt move.
After Volume 4, there's essentially a very large gap of time that we don't see Renji in the story. We're following the canonical timeline, so at this point, Renji is kind of just going off with his party and having off-screen adventures, and eventually finds himself on the Red Continent, which is an entirely separate continent from where GRIMGAR is, and essentially things there are a lot stronger and a lot scarier. Renji and his party actually, at this point, discover certain things about themselves. The mage Odachi realizes that he's in love with Renji, and so does Sasa, because of course everyone's in love with fucking Renji. Roughly around this time, Ron kind of develops a inferiority complex because of Renji, because women constantly seem to be asking about Renji, but never about Ron. And supposedly, I guess, Renji and Chibi just get closer. We have no idea what this relationship is, by the way, because the only relationships that Renji really has with his party members is just Chibi, kinda? Because the rest of them are just kind of distant from him. It's really depressing. And around this time, also, we discovered that Sasa was exploring a wyvern nest where she essentially got attacked by dragons and just killed. And unfortunately, that's where her story ends. And this all happens pretty much off screen. This is why I'm hoping they eventually give Renji his own, like, spin-off light novel or, like, a bonus light novel. That'd be great. In this wyvern nest is also where Renji finds Iragorfall, his relic armor that is basically kind of alive. It is attached to this golem monster thing. Renji kills it, and it comes off of the monster, climbs onto him, and is now joined to him. Renji and his party, I'm assuming, mourn Sasa's death, and they eventually decide to head back to Grimgar. And this is essentially where they eventually meet Yume, and this is where the next canonical moment that Renji is shown in the story actually pops up. In Volume 14++, Renji finds Yume on a boat heading back to Grimgar. Renji actually apologizes to Yume because he realizes that, hey, I was completely wrong about your party. You're actually pretty decently strong, and you probably had some potentials that I just couldn't see. Considering this is Renji, this is probably the most character development we're going to be seeing out of this guy. Renji and Yume actually both go to Alterna, and on the way there, Yume notices that Renji's party is just kind of very distant from each other. They don't have, like, this family feeling kind of thing that Haru's party has. Eventually, they get to Grimgar, and Renji has a fun little interaction with Brittany, and this is actually interesting because it's a decent contrast from when Renji actually first talked to Brittany. Because the first time Renji talked to Brittany, he was just very, very homophobic towards Brittany. Brittany was also implying that he wanted to assault Renji. There's a whole lot of problems with the way they write Brittany. It's a whole weird thing. But these seem to be a lot better off together and they're friendlier now. So, more character development, I guess, off screen. After this, we don't see Renji all the way until Volume 17, where Renji actually talks to Haru and confides in him about his whole inability to connect to his party. Haru basically tells him, why don't you try talking to them? And Renji's response is basically, nah. Renji and Haru both also come together to actually go on a mission with the Tokis and a bunch of other volunteer soldiers to go attack a giant tower where a Lich King actually dwells. Eventually, they go through all the traps and all the monsters to get to the Lich King on top of the tower. In where Renji, Haru, and an entire army of volunteer soldiers basically get fucked by a lich to an extent, but they do at some point wear him down and actually kill him. After this exhausting experience, in the same volume, mind you, they then switch gears to go fight an army of orcs holding another objective that they need to take. Renji finds the brother of the orc that he killed in Volume 3, and he gets into a fight with them, and he has no chance. The guy basically steamrolls Renji. And Tokumin has to come in and help him out, because that's how strong this orc was. Even with his armor Raggerfall giving him a boost to his stats. Lucky for them, Shihiro showed up and basically nuked 2 armies. Renji's next appearance is actually in Volume 19, and a bunch of other volunteer soldiers have to essentially fight off an entire army of dark monsters in Alterna. Adachi actually realizes that the monsters are after relics and the energy inside of them, so he tells Renji to take off his armor and he leaves Raggerfall behind. It is presumed that Renji and the rest of the surviving volunteer soldiers actually escape Alterna, but we do not quite know just yet. And that is essentially where Renji is currently in the light novel. Personally, I think Renji's just fine. He's probably just escaped. I don't know how many other volunteer soldiers may have died, however. It is looking pretty bad for the volunteer soldiers, if I'm being entirely honest. We're all still kind of waiting for Soma and Akira to kind of show up and save the day, but like we have no idea what's gonna happen, man. Renji's role in the story is actually pretty interesting because he's kind of just essentially the stereotypical isekai protagonist being put into another world and being treated better than everyone else for literally no reason. It's kind of a joke. Renji constantly shows that he's not as great as the leader as everyone thinks he is, and he kind of just carries his team. But the world around Renji still treats him as like he's like a demigod, essentially. Kind of like a lot of protagonists in bad isekais. Personally, I do genuinely like Renji's role in the story, even though I do give him a lot of shit. Before I end this video, I do want to talk about some fun facts about Renji. Canonically, Yume is the only character to have ever made Renji actually laugh. He calls her, and I quote, a natural comedian. And this is because Yume is just random airheaded nature, just entertains the fuck out of Renji. And I will say, as much shit as I give Renji for bad leadership, he does clearly have a nature to care for his teammates. He does actually care about them. He's just not good at emoting that care for everyone except Chibi. But that's it for Renji's video. If you guys want me to talk more about Renji or other characters in GRIMGAR, please let me know in the comments. And a huge special thank you to our subscribers over on our Twitch. If you want to get a shout out at the end of the videos, please subscribe to our Twitch or use the thanks feature here on YouTube to get a shout out at the end of my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great night. Bye.